We've now reached the Final Four in our presidential smackdown tournament, in which we are attempting to decide who was the best president of all time. In the Final Four, we have Teddy Roosevelt going up against Abraham Lincoln in the Mount Rushmore half of the bracket. And then we also have Dwight D. Eisenhower going up against Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the post-World War I half of the bracket. Things are about to get interesting, so stay tuned. On the Mount Rushmore half of the bracket, we have Abraham Lincoln matching up against Teddy Roosevelt in a Final Four heavyweight showdown. Going into the tournament, Abraham Lincoln was considered a heavy favorite, and going up against Teddy Roosevelt is no easy task. Unfortunately for Abraham Lincoln, this is where his run ends. It's not necessarily about what Teddy did, but more about what Abraham Lincoln didn't do during his presidency. Unfortunately for Abraham Lincoln, he does not score well on foreign policy. He did oversee one major event in our nation's history, probably one of the most important events, the Civil War. He held the Union together, but that's not going to be enough to save him here, as he also has negative knocks against him for suspending the rights of habeas corpus and challenging the Constitution, which are things that are often overlooked, things that he justified in the sake of preserving the Union. But nonetheless, they hurt him in our ranking system here. Teddy Roosevelt has a very diversified portfolio. He has solid achievements in both foreign policy as well as domestic policy, and helped carry him through on to the final round. On the post-World War I side of the bracket, we now have Dwight D. Eisenhower facing up against Franklin Delano Roosevelt. This matchup once again pits a heavy favorite against a candidate that not a lot of people expected to make it this far. Dwight D. Eisenhower had a great run, but unfortunately this is where he will see his last action in the tournament. Dwight D. Eisenhower scored very favorably in this tournament, and due to his domestic successes. Dwight D. Eisenhower signed the 1957 and 1960 Civil Rights Act, the first Civil Rights Act since Reconstruction. Eisenhower was also the president in charge of putting the interstate highway system together, a major success that would make life today nearly impossible. However, he was weak in foreign policy, with his main strong point being the Eisenhower Doctrine, which would dominate U.S. foreign policy for the next 30-some years. Unfortunately for Eisenhower, his accomplishments just don't add up to what FDR was able to accomplish in office. Mostly known for his New Deal, which was designed to help bring the United States out of a deep depression, he was also the president who watched over the majority of World War II. FDR was responsible for helping pull the nation out of one of its most difficult financial times, as well as one of its most taxing times in international politics. So FDR advances to meet Teddy Roosevelt in an all-Roosevelt final to see who is the best president in the United States of America.